Mark, you traveled from Germany yesterday to join this, and when we were talking, I learned that you are a person who you surrender. You believe on something and you take the risk. So, from your experience as a leader in sport, leader in business, how important is that? And yeah, what is your view on that?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me at the Global Women Club. I've already surrounded myself with very exciting people, so it's a pleasure and honor to be here today. So, to your question of how important is taking risks, it's I think it's at the core of everything you do if you want to be successful. It is in sports or in tennis, as James explained. I like to call it the term "play to win." It's an attitude. It's I, it's not looking at the risk. It's looking at the opportunity and the potential outcome. So, and if you don't look at that, then you will not be successful. It's as simple as that.
So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you cultivate the passion for sport? How did that come, and how what have you learned on this journey by not only being a leader, a personality in the sport industry, but also how did you turn that around into a business?
Before I talk about the business, I'd like to go all the way back to my youth and talk about life. Because I was born and raised in Germany, I went to high school in Germany, but I followed sports. I had that passion for sports. Usually at that age of 5, 6, 7, you followed football at the time. But in Germany, with Boris Becker and Steffi Graf at the time, they're about my age, I was very passionate about that. I already played tennis. And through that, I saw all the great things that happened, especially in the US, which I call the cradle of sports marketing, because they were so far advanced with in comparison to Europe. And to me, it was more of a door opener. I just wanted to get out, or in a more positive, not get out of the house, and in a more, I wanted to see the world, especially the US at the time. So to me, it was an opportunity in life to do that. So I was able, and tennis helped me with that, to get a scholarship for at a university, at James Madison University in Virginia, and I played college tennis there. So that enabled me to meet new people, an entire new culture, which today influences me. And I met people. I was a foreigner for the first time, which is a very, very important and great experience. Not for every foreigner, of course, but for me, it was. And sports helped me to experience that and to see different angles, different perspectives. And I mean, I was welcomed with open arms in the U.S., not just in college, but by the people there. And that just was the trigger for me to see more of that world and use sports as a platform. So later on, after I graduated, it was clear to me that I would connect sports and the experiences that I made and what I see in the developments of professional sports with business. And I did that in very early on as starting as a consultant for sports sponsors, mainly in Europe at the time, when everything was about branding, on the jerseys and on the perimeter boards, which is completely different now. But it helped me to start a business in that field, and I've done this until today. Now I've changed it a little bit. I'm sure we'll talk about that with regards to champions.
Always have to be open to change.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds very interesting because what I see here is like you had the ability to see things in a different perspective and to see the opportunity, to see the details. So you very soon then jumped to the idea of advertisement. How it's like bringing both sides. How do these big brands benefit from sport, and the vice versa? how does sport can benefit from these brands, and you saw that. And did you do you feel that you had that gift in you, or what inspired you to start something like this? Uh, is it because somebody told you, or is it because you saw an opportunity for business, or is it because you really have it as a gift, matching things together? Sometimes it's like I find myself just sitting here, and you're talking about something, and my mind is going, "Oh, he's talking about a subject that X in, I don't know, China has been looking for. Maybe I should connect them together." So do you have that feeling sometimes that because you have it in you, how do you turn that into a business?
I think it's always important in business and in life that you are authentic, and integrity is very important. And coming from the world of sports, working in the world of sports and convincing brands and media and agencies and athletes to do this or that was easier coming from the world of sports. So because I hope was being yeah, was yeah, you're one of them, and you know, you talk the same language, you speak the same language. What's also important is the passion. I mean, I brought the passion for sports, and to me, that's the key thing for everything. When I coach, and this will be a longer answer now, but just to keep it brief, in the learnings from sports for business, there are three main areas. One is, you know, the fundament, and in that you will find things like passion. If you're not passionate about something, or you have a stomach ache every time you step on the court, you're not going to be successful. And this is true for business as well, or in life, relationships, whatever. Then you have the practice and the repetition, and that's when you start to work on details, on rituals, and you learn and you improve and do that. And then you have the competition, right? The what we call sprint analysis.
Yes.
So, but the passion will be found in the that's in the fundament, and it needs to be there, right? So for me, it was there. I wanted to be in sports. I didn't want to do anything else. I wanted to connect it with marketing in this case, or advertising, as you said it. So it was more of a new way to advertise. And why is it easier for brands to advertise through sports? Because, again, of the passion that the fans bring with the sport. So the brands connect with the sport, and there you try to build that connection. And then you see the gap, and you then need to be creative, of course, and have experts work on a campaign that, again, with authenticity, connect the two. You can't just tell any story. It needs to make sense to the fan. And you mentioned gift. If there's a gift, so to say, what I like to do is connect the dots. That's what you mentioned. Yeah, I met this person there, or there's a need for this, I believe. So we need to build something here, and who can do that? That person, or that brand, or that media, whatever, and then we build it.
Now, thank you so much for bringing this and for doing what you do, because it's very important that we also kind of see the relevance in our everyday journey that we have as entrepreneurs. It just, as I was listening to you, just reminded me there is a phenomenon which is called the mere exposure phenomenon. That means that, for example, it just strikes me, why Coca-Cola has to be everywhere in all stadiums, or why, I don't know, take X brand. I'm taking Coca-Cola. Everybody knows Coca-Cola. Why do they have to be everywhere in these big billboards, in these big stands? And then I started studying what exactly mean to get that visibility and that exposure. It's called, like, people, the more they see it, and then the more they become familiar, and it goes deep into their subconscious mind. Otherwise, as I said, it's called the mere exposure effect. You just expose, 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 expose. So Coca-Cola comes in our dreams because it's everywhere. So why, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we fail to understand that it's about consistency. It's not about you being famous for something overnight. You became a champion and that's it, or I don't know, you became the news on TV and that's it. How do we create that consistent exposure for ourselves? You as an expert, what would be your input on this?
How you do it depends on the brand, so to say. because you used Coca-Cola as an example, and which channel to use depends. That you need to be consistent is very important, as you said. And why do people fail? Because they stop halfway sometimes, because there are challenges, be it interpersonal, be it you're running out of budget, running out of money, or you have not done your homework on what to focus on. Focus, I think, is very important, also with consistency. And once you've decided and found the right way to do, then you need to be consistent and resilient and keep doing it. Now, from a brand perspective, as you said, you talked about subconsciousness. Us seeing Coca-Cola or other brands or Visa, Mastercard in all the big stadiums is like hitting tennis balls 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 times a day. It's just you absorb it and it becomes part of you automatically. Not just not so it's not an active decision you take. So it's already there. So you have almost like a brand trust. Now that has changed. A lot has gone away from just branding into more of a storytelling and again, this is emotional connection. And it's become more digital, of course, and you have to be more creative. And you can't just, put your brands everywhere like we did even 15 years ago. When I did work for MasterCard at FIFA World Cup 2006 in Germany, and we basically turned Berlin into a orange and red branding space. And it doesn't work like that anymore. It has to be more than that. You got to find the right brand ambassadors telling the real stories, authentic stories. Plus, budgets brands are looking more at how much they spend and what the return is. So it's not, you don't have these huge budgets anymore, it seems.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, also, you mentioned a very important keyword, which is called competition. So, how does it feel competition in the world of sports in comparison with competition in the world of business?
That's a good one. I think the competition in business is more complex because you're constantly, at least in the business that I run, you have to reinvent yourself all the time and go into different directions. You have to look, now in my case, I started to look more into technology. What's the role of technology in sports? What is the role of sustainability in sports? And all of that, there are competitors and people that know more about that in that space. Or in technology, there I came in with like 45, 50, and all of a sudden I'm trying to explain to my clients that they should do this and that with AI, and they looked at me like, really? Right? So it seems to me that is more complex, and as an athlete, you have that tennis court. Now, you have all kinds of competitors, ones that cheat you, ones that are better than you, ones that work harder than you, maybe, depending on how much you do for your success. But it's more of this one track you're on, it seems. And in business, it's more horizontal, and you have to. The competition comes from all angles in business.
So it seems like in sport, you know where the competition is coming from, but in business, sometimes you don't know. Yeah. It's like you're saying is more linear, is more like you have to be prepared all the time. So can we explore a little bit more? Because in the female founders, entrepreneurs, business owners world, we say no competition, collaboration. Let the competition out. Let's collaborate. So do you believe in that?
Depends, but in general, I would say no, I don't. I think we have come to a world, and that has changed over the last 15 years as well, where we used to think in terms of market share, and what we own, and what we keep, and what we protect, and now it's more like how can we collaborate to, doesn't it make more sense to collaborate and win together? But that doesn't always work because you don't always know who you're dealing with. So here again, it's more complex because you have to really analyze and see, can I work with that person or that company or
Invite your competitors in sport. Let's collaborate in
yes.
tennis, and then I say, if you win, yes, darling, yeah, you get the. So how does it feel in the world of business this fun?
I think, and this goes actually back to Richard Branson. I think when he once said that. Let me think about this. If I want to make sure I got the right quote here. Opportunities are like buses. Is that what he said? There's always another one coming. So don't think of your project or your career or whatever of just this one single thing. You can collaborate with your competitor on this one project, and you don't always have to do it. And it's not going to be the end of the world if you do it. It's probably maybe the greatest opportunity ever. So, and over time and with the years, you start to realize, just relax. It's not that bad. You can work with your competitors. But then again, it's about building trust. And there's enough room, enough of the cake, so to say, that everyone gets a piece of it.
I must say so, but for example, we women come from a culture that we didn't have. We don't have that many examples or role models where women really support each other from the past. We hear more stories of women like really competing badly, being aggressive, putting each other down. And that's why I feel like for the very first time ever in human history, I see our generation of women today is the first generation being more abundant and saying, sister, come with me, it's okay. We are creating kind of more abundance. But also, I hear many times women say, oh, we women are not as great as men. The men really collaborate with each other. They can go to tennis or golf or a beer together, and they support each other. They open doors for each other. They open opportunities to each other. They take their friends with them. But I haven't heard that much in the past, especially in the past, where women take each other to the top. What is your opinion on that?
If that is the case, see, I don't like to think in terms of men and women. I, these conversations have more there's more benefit to the conversation if you look at humans. You can learn from men in this case and do better. If that's the case, maybe, but yeah, it's hard for me to.
How do you guys collaborate?
Well, guys in general don't always collaborate. Some do, some don't. That's what I'm saying. You can't say men do this and women do that. Maybe there's a tendency, but the comparison to me is a problem. If that's the learning, if you see that works for some men, then I want to do that too. Then I would encourage a woman to do the same, and by giving first, by sharing, and because then others will follow. That is a big learning too. With regards to competition too, is sharing and offering, reaching out to someone does miracles sometimes. I mean, look at the Wimbledon final this year after Novak Djokovic, who really wanted to win this. The words he said after he lost, that was just recognition. It was respect towards Carlos Alcaraz, and to him, to the young guy, it was so important. It actually made him stronger. So Djokovic didn't have to do that. If he thought in terms of competition, there's a next tournament, the U.S. Open coming up. Maybe I'm going too much into detail, but to me it was like, wow, he's really making this young man stronger, and that is a true champion to me. And at the end of the day, when the career is over, he can look back at this and say, I shared some of my greatness with the next generation, and that should be done in your example among women as well. If you don't feel that is the case right now.
Yeah, thank you. And it makes sense, especially coming from a champion, because many times when we start something, we feel like we're very self-critic toward ourselves, and sometimes we don't have that belief that we can achieve something, we can make things happen. Sometimes also we have the tendency to blame others or to find excuses or to complain. It can be any kind of complaint, the weather, I don't know, the government, the COVID, the people, other people, the audience. And when it comes to your experience, what are some qualities that a champion has? You just mentioned something, yeah, from the example you just shared. So, what are the top qualities that champions have?
There are so many. That's why they're champions, and they all have to come together. And if you only master half of them, you're probably not a champion, but you're a good person, maybe. Many things like first of all, with regards to performance, it's discipline, it's the passion, it's the extra, the fine line, to do the extra work, to really want it. But then it comes to a personal level, humility. I worked with Pelé, the one of, if not the greatest footballer ever, and he could have been, arrogant or, just super proud of himself, and he had bodyguards in the car with us every time. When someone saw him through the windows of the car, it was amazing to see. Someone would go, "Oh, Pele!" And there would be a crowd within like seconds. Everybody would storm the car, and what would he do? He would get out of the car, leave his bodyguards behind, and sign every shirt, ball, whatever it was, until everybody was happy. He wasn't scared. And I said, "What are you doing?" And others did. And well, I want to make these people happy. I'll be back in 5 minutes. And that to me that's a quality, to give back to the people that made him a champion and a star. Um, yeah, it's things like that. But so many more things. Sharing after the career. What I said earlier is, you have, depending on the sport, maybe 10, 15 years of being a champion on the field, on the court, in the water. But life is much longer than 15 years for most people. So it's how you bring it to life after that, and how much you share in terms of humility, or in terms of sharing your experiences with businesses and individuals. And that to me is a true champion. And that's why I've launched, if you've built that bridge, Champions for Good, which is in addition to what I've done for more than 25 years. Global sponsorships is a connection of rights holders, athletes, events, championships, whatever, and brands as the partners. We're adding an impact project, a measurable impact that the two of them will leave, a legacy, right? Be it through, the budget of the brand, the authenticity and the drive, or the network and the followers, the reach of selected coaches, athletes, champions, to add in value to something that is important and relevant to society. It could be fighting climate change, and there's a lot we can do and must do in technology, but also in terms of awareness. Going to schools, we're working, we've just spoken with a famous sailor about this, offshore sailing. It could be education, providing education in certain regions. It could be health and well-being. So many things that you can do to add to the mere commercial piece of sponsorships. And I've seen huge budgets go into a 4-week event or even a 3-day event. And when the event is over, reach goes down, everybody goes home, budget is gone. But what's the long-term effect, measurable effect of it? And that's what we're trying to do, is that the brands can use this from engagement to engagement, from sponsorship to sponsorship, as an overarching campaign to do good, and we're customizing the campaigns around that.
Wow, that's great. You definitely, I can see you have the ability to spot the gap and the opportunities and make things happen. Before we open the floor to the questions, one more question. How important is for you as a champion, as a business leader, to have a supportive partner? And how do you think the woman can play a role in the man's success?
I think I've answered a lot of questions with the word depends, but it does. Now, for me, it's extremely important. It's my partner or my wife, but it's also our kids. We have two boys, well, grown men, 25 and 22, and it's not just their support. It's what the communication with them, their opinion. Now they're old enough to give me their opinion on what I do. Actually, one of them is working on Champions for Good with me. Extremely important. The support to know that they're there. And sometimes when you're really down after you've lost first round week after week after week, and you're doubting, is this really what I want to do? And if you can remind yourself what is really, really important in your life, now and when the career is over, or if you tear ligaments and you can't play anymore, what's really important, what is still there, then you start to relax and like, I can come back. And that's really important to have that feeling and that support. Yeah. And that is, if it's your wife, other people have other partners of other genders, to have your partner support you, or your kids, your family. And that's why I always say the team around you, which is not always family, James mentioned it earlier, is so important. So you have to treat them like family. That is also, that can make a huge difference. Don't take them for granted, just like family. Treat them like family with respect and give them your support. Share your success with them. It's not just about you, even though you might be the one on the court, but you wouldn't be on that court without them. So it goes both ways. You have to give back and win as a team, lose as a team, and be supported by that team.